In 1975, Harvey's Bristol cream sold more bottles in Britain than any wine sells today. Port was in 70% of British homes. Blue Nun was the country's best-selling wine for 10 straight years. And now, most people under 40 have never tasted any of them. These weren't obscure drinks. They were massive. Everywhere, in your house, your neighbour's house, every pub in Britain. They've vanished so completely, it's like they never existed. Today, I'm showing you all 15 of these lost drinks, because someone needs to remember what Britain used to drink. If you grew up in Britain between the 1950s and 1980s, drinking wasn't just about getting drunk. It was ritual. Port after dinner, sherry before it, Advocaat at Christmas, Babycham for the ladies. These drinks were social signals, class markers, traditions passed down through families. I've spent weeks digging through old adverts, talking to former brewery workers, even sampling a few bottles that still exist in dusty off-licenses. What I found surprised me. British drinking culture was stranger and more specific than anyone remembers. And why did these drinks vanish? That tells you everything about how Britain changed. So grab a drink, maybe not Watneys Red Barrel, and let's dive in. Hit subscribe if you want more Forgotten Britain content. There's plenty more coming. Right then, let's start with the drink that was everywhere but is now basically a joke. Quick question. What was the first alcoholic drink advertised on British TV? Not Guinness, not Carlsberg, Babycham. That little bottle with the prancing deer. I'd love a Babycham. If you're over 50, you just heard that in the exact voice from the advert. Babycham was what your mum drank on nights out in the 1960s and 70s. Small bottles, special glasses with the deer logo. It made women feel glamorous. Before Babycham, women drank port and lemon, or shandy, or nothing. Babycham gave women their own drink. Not masculine beer, not scary spirits. Something for them, even if it tasted like fizzy pear juice. Which it did. It mattered. Here's what people forget. When Babycham launched in the 1950s, it wasn't cheap. It wasn't naff. It was fancy. The company called it Champagne Perry. Champagne was the height of class back then. For working class women in the 1960s, ordering a Babycham was a statement. It said, "I'm here, I'm modern, I deserve nice things." It only became a joke later, in the 1980s and 90s when people started mocking women's drinks. But in its heyday, Babycham was freedom in a bottle. It still exists, by the way. You can still buy it, but nobody does. The world that needed Babycham, that's gone. But Babycham wasn't the only sweet drink easing people into alcohol. Do you remember what Christmas tasted like? Not turkey, not pudding. The drink your nan made every year without fail. Thick, yellow, creamy, Advocaat, mixed with lemonade to make a snowball. Christmas wasn't Christmas without a snowball. Your nan would bring out the Advocaat, probably the same bottle from last year, mix it with lemonade in those special glasses, the ones that only came out twice a year. It was thick, sweet, like custard. Nothing else you'd drink all year tasted like that. Kids would beg for a taste. Adults would grimace, but drink it anyway because that's what you did at Christmas. It was tradition. Now let's be honest about Advocaat. It's weird. It's made from eggs, sugar, and brandy. Alcoholic custard, basically. But here's the thing. We've lost our tolerance for weird textures in drinks. Everything now has to be smooth, clear, refreshing. We've become fussy about how drinks should feel. Your grandparents, they didn't care. They'd drink egg liqueurs, cream cocktails, thick fortified wines. They didn't care if it was weird. They cared if it was nice. We've become more squeamish, not more sophisticated. Most people under 40 have never tried Advocaat and never will. Something's been lost there. Not the drink itself. It was odd, let's be honest. but the freedom to enjoy odd things, to drink something just because it's traditional, even when it doesn't make sense anymore. Speaking of odd sweet drinks women drank, Cherry B. B is for beautiful. Remember that advert? Cherry B was everywhere in the 1970s and 80s. Sweet cherry booze, bright red, sticky as hell. Women drank it when they wanted something stronger than Babycham. The adverts showed glamorous women in evening gowns. But in reality, Cherry B got drunk at hen parties, girls' nights, by aunties who didn't really drink. The bottle would sit in the cabinet for years, getting stickier. You'd pour it and it barely came out, like thick cough syrup, but with alcohol. Here's why Cherry B matters. It was sold to women as not too strong, not too serious. That whole category? Gone. Modern marketing pretends drinks are for everyone, but they're not. We've just shifted the stereotypes. Rosé for women, craft beer for men. At least Cherry B was honest about what it was doing. The sexism was right on the label. You knew what you were getting. That makes it more honest than today's Instagram cocktail culture. The culture that pretends it's equal while being just as gendered. Just better at hiding it. Cherry B still exists, technically, but it's completely off everyone's radar. Nobody under 50 knows what it is. Nobody over 50 admits drinking it. It's a ghost now. Those first three were sweet starter drinks. Easy, gentle. But these next ones, these were serious. Now we're into drinks that said something about you. Sherry. Specifically, Harvey's Bristol Cream. If someone offered you a small sherry before Sunday lunch in the 1970s, they were showing off. It meant they did things properly. Harvey's Bristol Cream was the posh choice. Smooth, sweet, dark brown. That bottle with the blue label, you'd know it instantly. Middle-class families had one bottle for guests, a cheaper one for themselves. The ritual was strict. Small glasses, crystal if you had it, poured carefully, sipped slowly while talking about the weather. You didn't gulp sherry, that would be rude. Sherry drinking has collapsed by over 90% since then. 90%. One generation, from 7 out of 10 homes to almost nobody. Why? It became an old person's drink. Once something gets marked as what grandparents drink, it's dead. Doesn't matter how it tastes. The label kills it. But here's the mad part. Pay attention because this is important. Sherry is now huge in trendy wine bars. A rediscovered classic. Young wine experts rave about Fino and Manzanilla. The exact same drink that was outdated 10 years ago. Now it's cool. Just not Harvey's Bristol Cream. That's still for old people. See how this works? Taste doesn't determine what survives. Class does. Marketing does. Who drinks it does. Harvey's Bristol Cream tastes the same as 1975. But nobody wants it, because their nan drank it. If Sherry said, "We're respectable," this next drink said something different. It said, "We're cultured." European, not just beer people. Mateus Rosé, that squat, curvy bottle. Portuguese, pink wine. Peak sophistication in the 1970s. Dinner parties revolved around Mateus Rosé. You'd serve it with your prawn cocktail. Everyone would nod approvingly. Look at us, drinking European wine. Very fancy. And when the bottle was empty, you didn't bin it. Oh no, you stuck a lampshade on it, threaded a cord through, put it in the living room. Half the houses in Britain had Mateus Rosé lamps by 1975. Go ask your parents. They probably had one. Now let's be honest about Mateus. It was quite sweet. Not great by today's standards. But that's not why people drank it. They drank it because it was foreign, affordable, easy to get. It made wine culture simple. Before Mateus, wine was scary. expensive, for posh people only. This made it easy. We mock it now, call it tacky, laugh at the lamps. But Mateus did more for working class wine drinking than any fancy French chateau. It was a bridge, not a punchline. The bottle still exists, still made in Portugal. But nobody in Britain drinks it anymore. We've moved on. Prosecco, Pinot Grigio, wines that don't remind us of our parents pretending to be posh. This next one was ritual at its most extreme. Port after dinner drink, for men only. Women actually left the table after dessert. Actually left, went to the living room. This really happened. Not just in costume dramas. Men stayed at the dining table. Port came out. Ruby port if you were drinking it fresh. Tawny port if you were fancy. Here's the rule. Port passed to the left. Never right. Clockwise round the table. You had to know this. It was serious business. Asking for port to be passed directly? Massive mistake. You'd be marked as someone who didn't know the rules. Even working class families tried to follow these rituals. Because port wasn't just a drink. It was a system. A way of organising people. Of showing class. Of being properly British. But port died. Not because of taste. Port died because the whole social system collapsed. We don't separate men and women after dinner anymore. We don't have 3-hour formal lunches. We don't have Sundays where men chat while women wash up. Port wasn't just a drink. It was how society worked. When that system faded in the 1980s and 90s, port went with it. The drink couldn't survive without the ritual. The ritual couldn't survive equality. Simple as that. Port still exists. You can still buy it, but nobody under 60 drinks it regularly. Nobody passes it clockwise. The knowledge is gone. The ritual is dead. Speaking of lost knowledge, Blue Nun, sweet German white wine. Blue Nun goes everywhere. That was the real slogan. In the 1970s, Blue Nun sold 3.5 million bottles a year in Britain. 3.5 million. Why? Blue Nun solved a problem. What wine do you serve when you know nothing about wine? For people who grew up on beer and spirits, wine was terrifying. Vintages, regions, grape types, totally foreign. But Blue Nun said, don't worry, this goes with everything. Fish, meat, cheese, doesn't matter, just buy it. You won't look stupid. Your parents probably served it at their wedding. Mine did. But Blue Nun became a joke. It's now famous for being a tacky 1970s taste thanks to Alan Partridge on TV. But here's what we lost when Blue Nun died. Honesty. Blue Nun said wine could be simple, easy, no fuss. We replaced it with wine snobbery. With cheap bottles, we pretend are fancy because they're dry. But Blue Nun was honest. It said, this is sweet, easy, you'll like it. We've lost that honesty. Now, if you're enjoying this, do me a favour. Hit the like button. Comment with the drink your parents always had. I read every comment. Your memories teach me things. Right, on to the drinks that were everywhere but somehow more forgotten. This one will divide you. Watneys Red Barrel wasn't just a drink, it was a war zone. Keg bitter that dominated British pubs in the 1970s. Every pub had it, every single one. Adverts were constant. What we want is Watneys. That red barrel logo, men in pubs, laughing, enjoying pints. It looked modern, reliable, the same everywhere. That's exactly what traditional drinkers hated. Real ale was warm, flat, different in every pub. That was the charm. Every pint was unique. But Watneys? Cold, fizzy. Same in London as Manchester. Mass-produced, corporate, American style. Young drinkers liked it. Old drinkers hated it. Watneys was so hated, it created Camera, the campaign for real ale. The whole movement formed to fight what Watneys meant. Here's the controversial bit. Some of you won't like this. Watneys probably wasn't that bad. It became a symbol of corporate evil in beer. But the hate was about what it represented, not taste. It meant modernisation. Big companies taking over and small breweries dying. Character being erased. The hate for Watneys was fear about Britain changing. CAMRA didn't form because the beer tasted bad. It formed because Britain was changing. People needed something to blame. Watneys became the villain for a generation's anxiety. The beer itself? Probably fine. Not great, but fine. It's gone now. Can't buy it anywhere. But the legacy lives on. Every craft beer drinker today is reacting against Watneys. This one was a rite of passage. Woodpecker cider. Sweet cider in massive green bottles. Cartoon woodpecker on the label. Quart bottles. 2 pints. Huge compared to now. Woodpecker was what you drank when you were too young for beer. House parties, park benches, the wreck with mates. Sweet, easy, got you tipsy fast. Nobody over 30 drank woodpecker. It was understood. A young person's drink. Their training wheels. Eventually, you'd move on. Beer, lager, spirits. That's how it worked. There was progression. But here's what changed. We stopped having starter drinks. Now teenagers jump straight to craft beer or wine. No gentle stage, no easy introduction. We lost that idea that some drinks are for learning. Today's culture pretends everyone has fancy taste from day one. But Woodpecker was honest. It said, "This is sweet, simple, for people learning to drink." Now we have hard seltzers for adults. Same thing as Woodpecker, basically. Sweet, easy, low strength. But nobody admits it. Admitting you drink simple things is embarrassing now. Woodpecker still exists, barely, in tiny quantities. But what it meant, that's extinct. This drink died because of feminism. Pure historical fact, not politics, just history. Lager and lime. Cheap lager with lime cordial. Bright green, fake flavour. This was the women's drink in the 1970s. Walk into a pub in 1975 as a woman. Order a pint. Weird looks. Order lager and lime. Perfectly fine. The lime somehow made it feminine, acceptable, sweet, pretty. Showed you weren't trying to be one of the lads. Barman kept lime cordial just for this drink. It was everywhere, but it vanished overnight in the 1990s. Why? Women refused to drink special girl versions of men's drinks. By the mid-90s, women ordered pints. No lime, no apology. This drink dying marks real social change, actual progress toward equality. But here's the unpopular bit. Some people genuinely liked lager and lime. Not because they were women, because they liked sweet, different drinks. Now everything has to be normal lager, or you're making a statement. We lost permission to like weird combinations. You can't just like what you like. Every drink choice is political. Lager and lime is dead. You'd get laughed at ordering it. But was that progress? Or did we swap one pressure for another? Speaking of unfortunate names, the Pussyfoot. Basically a snowball, but different. More lemonade, less advocate. For people who didn't drink much, this was Great Auntie Doris's drink at Christmas while she sat complaining about young people. Thick, creamy, linked to elderly relatives who didn't want to be there. The name didn't help. Pussyfoot meant timid, someone who avoided alcohol, even though this had alcohol in it. A drink that said, "I'm drinking, but not seriously." Every family had one relative with this drink. When they died, it died with them. Nobody took over. Nobody became the new Pussyfoot person. Here's why this matters. Pussyfoot was for people who didn't want to drink, but felt they should. That middle ground, gone. You're either a drinker or not. No in between. The gentle, apologetic drinking culture is extinct. We're more extreme about alcohol now, either confident cocktails or obviously nothing. People who wanted something light because they felt obligated, invisible now. We don't make drinks for them anymore. Right, nearly there. These last 4 will test your memory. I bet you've blocked them out. How far back does your drink memory go? This one's older than everything else. Lamb's wool. Ancient British drink. Roasted apples, spices, hot ale, sugar. Popular from the 1500s through Victorian times. This is what people drank before central heating, before modern Christmas. You'd roast apples till they burst. Mix with hot ale, sugar, nutmeg, ginger. Drink it steaming. The name came from how it looked. Burst apples floating like fluffy wool. This was communal, made in big batches, celebrations, wassailing, the 12 days of Christmas. Your great-great-grandparents definitely drank this. Lamb's wool died because we stopped making drinks that needed effort. Everything now is ready-made, bottled, open and pour. But more than that, we stopped having communal celebrations that needed big shared drinks. Christmas became small family affairs, wine and champagne. The old shared drinking culture died. Everyone drinking from the same bowl? That seemed dirty, old-fashioned. We gained convenience, individuality. We lost ritual, community. Lamb's wool is extinct now, as a real drink anyway. You might find it at history museums, but people actually drinking it, gone. Some of you will say this isn't dead, it's coming back. You're right, sort of. Sloe gin. Homemade gin with sloe berries, sugar and patience. Every middle-class house made it in autumn. An event, a ritual. You'd forage in September, after the first frost. Hunt for sloe berries in hedges. Blackthorn berries, small, dark, bitter. Bring them home, prick each one, jar with gin and sugar. Dark cupboard for 3 months, shake it weekly. By Christmas, ready. Deep red, sweet sour, complex, every bottle unique. Because everyone's berries were different. A connection to land, seasons, patience. Now sloe gin is having a trendy comeback. 25 quid a bottle in craft shops. But here's the irony. What made sloe gin special was that it was free. Homemade. You can't bottle patience. Can't buy the ritual. The foraging. The 3-month wait. The weekly shaking. Modern sloe gin is just expensive flavoured gin. The tradition is dead even if the product exists. Shop-bought stuff tastes fine. Professional. Consistent. But the magic? The connection to place and season? Gone. You can't sell ritual without killing what made it meaningful. This goes back further still. Madeira wine. Fortified wine from Portugal. Big in Victorian and Edwardian Britain. After dinner. Tiny glasses. Super sweet. Strong and complicated. Different types. Sertial. Bual. Malmsey. Each one for specific desserts. Specific times. You had to know which went with what food. Bual with fruitcake. Malmsey with chocolate. Showing you understood high culture. That you were educated. By the mid-1900s, Madeira was already old news. Your grandmother might serve it. Your mother wouldn't. It meant formality. Britain was leaving that behind. Here's why Madeira died. It was too complicated for everyone. Once drinking became about personal choice instead of showing class, complicated drinks disappeared. Why learn about Madeira types when you could just open Baileys? We talk about dumbing down, but really, we simplified. We chose easy over exclusive. Madeira was gate-kept. You had to know stuff to drink it right. Good riddance to gatekeeping. But we lost the drink with the snobbery. Maybe that's fine. Maybe some things deserve to die. But worth noting, We used to have drinks that needed knowledge. Now we have drinks that just need opening. Finally, number 15. Most people don't know this used to be alcoholic. Dandelion and burdock. You know it as a soft drink. Dark, herbal, bit bitter. Ben Shaw's made it famous as cordial. But originally, alcoholic, home-brewed, made by small local makers. Tasted like British countryside. Earthy, medicinal, herbal, roots foraged, fermented with sugar and yeast. Result? Somewhere between beer and herbal medicine. Working class, rural. Deeply British, medieval, made for centuries. The alcoholic version died because we lost taste for bitter, herbal, complex flavours. Everything now must taste good instantly. No learning, no challenging taste buds. But our ancestors drank things that tasted like medicine because taste wasn't everything. Drinks had purposes, helped digestion, gave nutrients, connected you to place. We've made drinking purely about pleasure. Getting drunk. Lost the idea that drinks could be useful, medicinal, meaningful. Dandelion and burdock was Britain's herbal drink tradition, made from what grew around you, what the land gave, all gone, replaced by drinks made anywhere, taste the same everywhere. That's all 15. There you have it. 15 drinks that shaped British life, defined celebrations, marked class, then vanished. Some slowly, some overnight, some deserved to die. Others took something valuable with it. What strikes me most isn't the drinks, it's what they meant. Gendered drinking, class performance, ritual, regional identity, patience, seasons. These drinks lived in a specific British world with specific rules. When that world changed, the drinks couldn't survive. We live in freer, less formal, more equal drinking culture now. That's progress, real progress. But drinks no longer have meaning beyond taste. Drinks marking occasions, taking months to make. Drinks that only existed in your town. Now everything's available everywhere all the time. We gained choice, convenience. We lost specificity, ritual. Whether that's good or bad depends what you value. But the drinks themselves? Not coming back. Your turn now. Which did your parents drink? Which memory hits hardest, good or bad? Which one should I have included? Comment below. I read everyone. Your memories teach me things I didn't know. If this took you back to your parents' drinks cabinet or your grandparents' Christmas, hit like. Want more forgotten British culture, food, traditions, the lost pre-internet world? Subscribe and hit the bell. Thanks for this journey with me. I'm off to find Watneys Red Barrel on eBay. Wish me luck, my stomach will need it. See you next time.